Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
We did it!
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Ground ball.
We did it!
Cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. Phoenix has the foul, and a technical foul throws it down.
DeBrincat gets it back to Gosses, bearing across now. King, save Raymond. They score! Raymond!
8-5, Johnson and throw, and it's caught by St. Brown for a first down.
This is BS Sports.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
And welcome in on a Tuesday evening. We're back for more BS Sports. Welcome in. It has been a hectic week, I will say that. For one, the show sheet is up to 2 pages now. Straight up, it's 2 full pages on the Google Doc. So we got a lot to talk about. We're obviously not going to spend extensive time on every individual thing that did happen, but the NBA offseason began with a bang. The NHL offseason has begun with a bang. We're going to break down the Pistons and the Red Wings, as well as all the other massive moves that have been happening. I mean, you got superstar caliber players on the move to other teams in both the NHL and the NBA. I don't know if it was like this last year. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. You had Chris Paul going to the Warriors. You had the whole Damian Lillard saga where, oh, he's going to Miami. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, now he's on Milwaukee. You had Porzingis going to Boston, which was obviously a huge move for them. I don't think it was this crazy. I don't know. Maybe I was just so distraught by what the Pistons did in their last year's offseason that I'm just more like in PTSD from the Joe Harris trade and drafting Asar Thompson and things and losing the lottery. That was quite the offseason. But hey, we made it here. We're alive. So look, I want to break this into somewhat understandable sections, mostly for clipping's sake. So I guess I'm going to start with some NBA draft stuff. I'm not. Do I want to do NBA draft stuff and then do a whole section on the Pistons, or do I want to do like a whole section on the Pistons and then NBA draft stuff, including the other stuff for the off season? That's a great question. It's a great question. I probably should have thought about this before going live. You know what? Let's just jump into Pistons stuff. Let's just dive into Pistons. We'll talk about what's going on with the team, what they did, and so on and so forth. So Pistons made a draft choice that has been, I would say, pretty controversial. One way or the other. The Pistons draft Ron Holland out of the G League. One Ron Holland was a forward for the G League Ignite, everybody's favorite team. Everybody keeps telling me, Mike, why don't you watch the G League Ignite? Everybody's talking about the G League Ignite. Who isn't watching the G League Ignite would be a more important question. But they take another G League Ignite player, obviously. Last year, Asar Thompson for the G League Ignite. And similar to Asar Thompson, Ron Holland also can't shoot from 3. So that's good. So here's my thing, okay? There are basically 2 angles people are taking with this. Angle number 1 is Pistons need shooters. They draft a guy who is not a shooter. They're lost, essentially. I'm probably more on that side than I am on side B. But side B does have some merit. On the other end, you take a guy who's an experiment, who's going to take years, and it signals to the fans that basically we're starting over. We're rebuilding the rebuild. Similar to what the Tigers are doing right now, the Trajan Langdon administration is rebuilding the rebuild in Detroit. But a little on one Ronnie Holland. So he shot a solid 24% from three, which is not good. It's not good. Now, to be fair, I want to say he attempted just like 44 threes or something like that. Like it wasn't a large volume of threes that he attempted, and he only attempted 3 a game, 3.5 a game. I don't know. That seems like a lot to me, but hey, that's 12 points or that's 9 points on the board that you're throwing in the air and not making most of them. So for one, the guy can't shoot. And now I want to say this was something that nobody really talked about. He also wasn't particularly great from the free throw line. So it's not just his, he can't shoot from the distance. He struggled shooting from the line. He shot just 75% from the free throw line. That don't cut it. All right, like you got to be in the high 90s from the free throw line, especially if you're supposed to be this uber athlete, drive to the basket, do a little bit of everything, lob, jam, all that stuff. You got to be able to shoot the free throw. And I can't believe I have to explain that to a professional basketball player, that you have to, in fact, be able to make your free throws. Unless you're Shaquille O'Neal, which by all indications, I don't think Ron Holland is, especially seeing as he is 6'8", 206 pounds, as opposed to whatever Shaq is, 6'10", 500 pounds or whatever. So as far as his counting stats, he had 19 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. I don't know what the 11 PIE is. I don't know. But there's one thing about this guy that is not entirely in his control. However, I will say is completely indicative of this team. Ron Holland played for the G League Ignite. Of course, everybody's favorite team. Everybody talks about the G League Ignite. Nobody can get enough of the G League. Everybody was watching this guy, right? I mean, everybody's anybody who questions. I mean, obviously they haven't watched the G League Ignite because everybody is watching the G League Ignite. Anyway, the G League Ignite went 2-32. Let me just say that one more time. The G League Ignite went 2. That means 1-2. The 2 wins. And 32. They were 29th in points per game, 30th in rebounds per game, 18th in assists per game, and I don't know what OPG is. OPG. I actually don't know. Hold on. Whatever. Very bad. They were 27th in that. Whatever it is, I don't know. They were bad at it. Maybe that's. I really don't know what OPG is. I'm usually pretty good at knowing what these generic stats are, but I guess I don't. Wow. And by the way, Ron Holland will be 19 years old in just a few days here. His birthday is July the 7th. So, we drafted a 19-year-old. And look, I'm not to say that never is going to work out. However, what I will say is I have yet to see any G League player work out. Like, Jalen Green is about the closest guy we've got to a G League player having success. And he's nothing special as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's a good player. He's not like the worst player. He'll have nights where he'll go off and really look like a superstar, and then he'll have nights where he just kind of looks like an average player. And I don't have a whole lot of faith in this development league and the G League as a league, as a pathway to being an all NBA or just superstar level player in the NBA. I just don't see it. And I guess on top of that, we're also dealing with a franchise that infamously cannot develop from the draft. I mean, even when we were good back in the early 2000s, right? Even when we were good, as my microphone wants to be very... Doesn't want to... all right, we're going to deal with that. Even when we were good in the early 2000s, one of the knocks on Joe Dumars was he really wasn't all that good of a drafter. I mean, you look at the team that won in 04. I want to say the only player that was drafted on that team that actually played considerable minutes was Tayshaun Prince. And he was drafted out of a bad draft class. So look, maybe Ron Holland is Trajan Langdon's Tayshaun Prince. Maybe. I would love for that. I love Tayshaun Prince when he was here. He's one of my favorite childhood players. I mean, we used to use him in the intro of the show. But I'm sorry, like whenever I hear about like, oh, this guy, he's an elite athlete, he's got crazy athleticism, He's young. He's physical. Like, it's like, okay, show me statistically what he's capable of. Well, he shot 24% from three and 75% from the free throw line and 44% from the field in general on 33 minutes played in 14 games. Doesn't do much for me. Now, look, again, here's the thing. A lot of people were talking about this coach that we'll talk about the coach in a second, but a lot of people were talking about the coach that was brought in from, I want to say New Orleans. I don't remember the guy's name, but basically the shooting guru assistant coach that was brought in, who's supposed to be able to fix everybody's shot. And I'm sorry, like, maybe he does. Maybe he proves me wrong. Asar Thompson goes from an 18% three-point shooter to a 35% three-point shooter. And Cade turns into a 40% shooter. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be. It probably won't, but it could be. And either way, like, you're drafting guys that are in the bottom in terms of their three-point percent. We're not talking about, like I saw a lot of people talking about Jaylen Brown. Look, Jaylen Brown in college, I believe he shot 29% from three. Like, in college, that's a different story, right? Like, that's 29%, like just about 30%. You can deal with that, right? Like, you can work with that and you can grow and be better. And you got to think as well, he's shooting 29% against college athletes in, filled up stadiums, people going crazy against a lot of future actual NBA players. I don't know any of the guys on the G League. And they're playing in empty gyms. And, it's like, if you're, 6'8", you're just going to dominate. Because if you're 6'8" and you're physically gifted, you're just going to dominate. Like, we saw it with Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson last year was seen as this, can't miss prospect, this superstar in the making. And he stinks. He just straight up stinks. Now, look, he's still got a lot of time. I know some people might say, well, he's just 1 year. He's got a lot of time, but not a great start. And I frankly, I don't really believe in Scoot Henderson, but that's a whole other discussion. I want to move on quickly here then to some of the other Pistons related news. So the other thing the Pistons did, they traded for Tim Hardaway Jr. I think this is a pretty good pick, or a pretty good pickup. So they get rid of Quentin Grimes. They grabbed Tim Hardaway Jr. First of all, Tim Hardaway Jr., the thing that I have been asking for is that he is an adult in the room. He's a veteran. He's, I think, a fairly respectable player in your lineup. Last year he shot 40% from the field, 14 points, three boards, about an assist a game. He also did that on, 35% three, which is probably about where most of your team is anyway. So look, I really don't have a problem with it. I think it's great that you managed to get something for Quentin Grimes. On top of, you also get you get 3 second rounders with him. So it's a bloated contract, but you get a bunch of picks with it. And you get rid of a player who had no future here in Quentin Grimes. Thanks, Troy Weaver, for bringing this guy in for no reason. But hey, you managed to make lemonade out of lemons in that situation. The other thing that happened was the Pistons hired a coach. They brought in JB Bickerstaff. So we talked about this last week. He was one of the guys on the list for the Pistons to hire. And I don't really have a feeling about this. I mean, for one, I think I'm probably pro this. I'm not going to declare this a slam dunk hire, as previous slam dunk hires declared by me did not go so well. So, yeah, he helped the Cavs, kind of develop and get into the playoffs. He'd been there for several years at that point. And I don't know if he's going to be the coach that leads the Pistons back to championship glory, but I don't know. He might be a helpful bridge coach, if that. He's been given an impossible task of having to head coach this team. But hey, look, with some right moves being made potentially, and maybe, these guys that you drafted and brought in, maybe they changed the way this team looks, and it might have just been you were dealing with a coach who didn't want to be there. I don't know. But overall, I guess, okay, it's a fair hire. They're at least hiring. Did I say it's a fair fire? It's a fair hire. They're at least hiring, somebody with some head coaching experience, I guess. I don't know if that really does much for me. Dwayne Casey had a lot of head coaching experience. So did Monty Williams. But anyway, the other couple of news here related to the Pistons is one, Cade Cunningham is here to stay for at least the next 5 years. He signs a 5-year, $226 million rookie extension. So, look, I was going to wear my Cade shirt today, but I actually forgot. But hey, Cade's back. Looks like the Pistons are going to build around this guy. So, hey, so far, no trade has been requested. So that's good. He wants to. He's at least, for the money, he's willing to stay here. And I would love to be able to build around this guy. I mean, obviously, you took him first overall. It would be an absolute crime if you don't manage to do anything with him one way or the other. And look, he seems like a nice enough player. I need to see a large jump from this past season to this upcoming season. And obviously, you just gotta show me that you have a future as either an all-star or as like either a perennial all-star or a perennial all-NBA kind of guy. And some might say that's unfair. The guy was taken number 1 overall. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He's too valuable to this franchise to be kind of a mid-level player. And I understand we're going to be in the draft lottery for at least the next couple of years, but it's not like that's anything new here, but he's just got to be something. If he can be that superstar all NBA caliber player, if he can be our, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, or heaven forbid, if he can be a Nikola Jokic-esque player, I don't know that he will be. They're not the same kind of player, but you know what I mean? A franchise altering player, then this deal is going to go down as a home run. But if he's just kind of mid, then I don't know. I guess maybe you can see if you can try to trade him. I don't know. But as it stands, hooray, Cade is back. I'm feeling just.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Thank you, Kamala. And one more thing here, just before we head to some other news. Tobias Harris signs with the Pistons.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
That's right, Kamala. We're out here in these streets. I'm not mad. Well, that's not true. I am mad. Why did we sign Tobias Harris? Why did we do that? For one, I understand that you have to field the team, right? You have to put people out there, and Tobias Harris is a veteran, and he's got experience in the league, and he played for the Pistons, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. He disgusts me. When I look at Tobias Harris, I'm disgusted. And the fact that I'm going to have to look at his body for at least the next couple of seasons, it disgusts me. It gives me nothing but anger and disgust. How many more times can I fit disgust into this? But, okay, Tobias Harris is a Piston. I'm a little confused as to why we were like front runners, in the sense of like we immediately were like, we got to sign this guy. I'm like, wow, that was fast. We didn't even like wait to see if another team would just take him off our hands, sort of thing. But okay. All right. That's pretty much it for the Pistons moves as of right now. I got to imagine Tobias Harris is going to be the headlining move. And this upcoming season is basically just going to be a year of development. It's going to be a year of seeing what you got with Cade, with Ivy, with Duren, and seeing how they can jive with Tim Hardaway. If they can develop with Tim Hardaway, if Tobias Harris can provide some veteran presence. I mean, jokes aside, Tobias Harris is like, the guy has been in the league for well over a decade at this point. Like, jokes aside, it's not like he's some like bum off the streets. He's not a great player. He's not a Hall of Fame player, but he's certainly not a nobody. But I don't know. I think his tenure with Philadelphia has obviously sullied his already kind of dubious reputation. But hey, welcome back, Tobias Harris. Back to the Pistons. He was on that 2016 Pistons team that made the playoffs. So hey, maybe he'll make the playoffs with us again. Maybe. He's not going to do that. It's not going to happen. But either way, yeah, Pistons I suppose I'm not like throw my chair out the window angry, but I'm also like, okay, if Trajan Langdon is the guy, I got a feeling we're gonna know relatively quickly. And it'll be with what we see from Ron Holland. It'll be from what we see from the new head coach. It'll be from what we see from the development of Cade Cunningham and the other young players. And it'll be as far as the rest of the offseason goes. I wouldn't be surprised if we make a trade for a bad contract to get some more picks because, hey, this team needs picks. We need draft capital. If we want to be like the Oklahoma City Thunder, we got to start taking on some bad contracts, okay? So, Zach LaVine, you are a Piston, hopefully, with like 3 first-round picks for the next like 3 years, please. Anything. But I'll take 1 first-round pick at this point. No, I won't. Not for Zach LaVine. Anyway. All right. So, I don't know if this is going to be all one clip. Probably. We'll see what we can do. We can kind of speed run through this and then just kind of break down individual things that I think are important. Sure, let's do that. So, I'm going to go down based on when this news came out and sort of go from there. So, first of all, a couple of things on the draft here. So, Zach Edey goes in the top 10. He goes to the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit surprised by that. I don't think he's going to be good. And I think they basically took him on potential. So congrats, I guess, to Zach Edey. You're going to make a lot of money in the NBA, but I don't think he's going to be all that good. That's just my opinion. Dalton Connect, however, he falls all the way to the Lakers. I'm very upset by that because I think Dalton Connect will be at least a pretty good player. He's one of the older players to be drafted in this draft. I believe he's 23 years old. Obviously, he had a great year with Tennessee last year. He shoots 3. He's a really good shooter. I don't know if he's going to develop into the NBA level. And one more thing I got to say, the Lakers, they took Bronny James in the second round. So it's funny, because that last clip that I posted where we were talking about how the Lakers are a joke of a franchise, and, there's a few Lakers fans who didn't like that and left some dislikes on the video. So are we still a serious organization, LA? Or are we just, playing fantasy basketball? We're going to draft Bronny James. I'm surprised they didn't, draft his other kid. I don't know if they had the extra pick, but maybe they would have traded into the second draft and been like, you know what, we're taking, I don't think he has another son, LeBron James. We're going to take his son too. We're just, whatever LeBron wants, we'll do what he wants. We'll just follow the whims of this guy. And then obviously LeBron opts out of his contract and he will sign again with the LA Lakers on a new deal, but he's opted out of that particular contract that he's in. A couple of here. Let me see if there's other moves that are notable that I want to talk about here quickly. So Mikal Bridges goes to the Knicks. Hey, I think it's a great pickup. The Knicks, they're looking to go all in. They gave up like a bazillion picks, I want to say, as well as a bunch of players. Let's see. How many picks did they get? The Knicks are sending 4 unprotected picks, 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031. A 2025 protected Milwaukee first, a 2028 unprotected pick swap, and a 2025 second-round pick for Mikal. Like, geez Louise. Okay? Like, the net, this could really turn around the Brooklyn Nets, to be totally fair to them. They got an absolute haul for Mikal Bridges. And you got to give this could be a win-win trade if the Knicks end up going to the finals and winning a championship with Mikal Bridges here. I don't know if it's going to happen, but hey, you get Brunson back. You get Brunson back. You already had Brunson. Why am I blanking on the other guy's name? I don't remember the guy's name. The guy who was hurt. I don't know what his name is. I can't remember it. Whatever. You got Brunson. You got Bridges. It could be a good time in Knickerbocker land. So good for the Knicks going all in. I love bold trades like this. For one, because if it doesn't work out for them, we can all make fun of them and laugh, and that's always fun. But if it does work out for them, it's like, hey, this is a message to other GMs. Like, go out and be bold. Like, take a risk sometimes when you're right there on the precipice. This is a trade that is going to either build a statue for a GM or have a GM be fired, basically. And for entertainment's sake, I like those kind of moves. And I'm sure Mikal Bridges is going to enjoy playing, down the street over at MSG as opposed to where do the Nets play? I don't even know what their arena. They used to play in Jersey, back when they were actually a good team. But hey, it's the Nets. It's a terrible name, by the way. The Nets. Anyway, briefly, I want to talk Hawks trading DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans. Okay. It was like, it looks like they're going to run it back with Trae Young. They're going to stick with Trae. It seemed like it was either between DeJounte Murray and Trae Young as to what they were going to do, or who they were going to stick with. I think it's smart to stick with Trae Young. I don't know that either of those players are particularly, elite superstar level players, but they're both very good players. So I don't know what exactly the Hawks' direction is going to be, but I do think, it's like you were going to move on from one of them, so you might as well get something for DeJounte. And for the Pelicans, you pick up a really good player. You're pairing him with Zion, who, if he can stay healthy, it might be a good pair. I don't know. It's like, I feel like with the Hawks and the Pelicans, they're actually not all that different in my mind. Like, it's crazy. Just a few years ago, the Hawks went to the conference finals. That's how quickly things can change in the NBA and in sports in general. So don't take any championship run for granted, is the lesson to take away from this. Briefly, want to talk about James Harden staying with the Clippers. Yeah, great. I mean, he's probably he's sticking with a franchise that has never won anything of note. So, it makes sense. It's just like James Harden. So, he's staying where he wants to stay. But I wanted to also mention a couple of former Pistons here. Andre Drummond, Pistons legend, double-double machine, two-time playoff run player for the Pistons, which is actually really sad. He's on the Sixers now. I really don't know why he keeps getting signed, to be perfectly honest. He's a decent player, so he'll find a role on the bench for the Sixers. Obviously, he's not going to start for them, but he'll find some role on the bench. Obviously, a vet, former All-Star, double-double. I want to say he was a rebound champ at one point, but hey, Pistons legend Andre Drummond. Then you also got KCP. This is a move I really like. KCP signing with the Magic. I really like this Magic team, and I really like this move. Obviously, experienced playoff champion in KCP, 2 championships under his belt, and former Piston, of course. So he made the play. He went to the playoffs with the Pistons. That's how long this guy has been in the league. KCP, again, 3-and-D guy, great leader. He's going to be an excellent addition to that team. They also, I didn't put it in the show notes, they also extend Mo Wagner as well as Jonathan Isaac. So look, I really like what the Magic are doing. It's funny to think that they were also in the lottery with the Pistons just a few years ago, and now they're trying to make some sort of run here in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if it's going to work out because the Eastern Conference is absolutely loaded, but I'm never going to fault the team for trying. And KCP is going to be a welcome addition. I'll say that again and again. Chris Paul decided to sign a contract. I don't know why, but he's signing with the Spurs, which I think it's a good move for both parties. For one, KCP, Chris Paul is going to be able to help, kind of in the twilight of his career, go out with, being able to play with, a future superstar and Victor Wembanyama. So that's already just a cool thing for him, but also for the Spurs franchise in general. You bring a leader, you bring a veteran of the league, one of the all-time great point guards, and he's certainly going to help with the lobs up to Victor. Like, I mean, obviously, for a lot of people think of Chris Paul and Lob City back in the Clippers. I don't know if it's going to look like that with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin and all them, but it's certainly a competent move. You're bringing in an experienced guard to help develop the rest of that team, and I don't doubt that he will have a positive impact on the Spurs. As far as where the Spurs are going to be next year, I don't know where I'm at on that. If Victor Wembanyama is everything he has been advertised and more, which his rookie campaign was fantastic, if he is like beyond that, if he's like basically a averaging a double-double or close to a triple-double in his second year, the team could be a play-in team if he just carries the rest of the bums on the team as well as the corpse of Chris Paul into the playoffs. But you never know. It's the Spurs. They are one of the most well-run franchises in the NBA, so I'm sure they'll have multiple championships, and I'll have to deal with Asar Thompson. I will never let that. I will never. Till the day I don't care how Asar Thompson could like go out and be like Dennis Rodman. I will never let that go. I will never let that go. Anyways, one more thing.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Thank you, Kamala. I'm sorry, that dropped. I heard that today, and I needed that on my board. Speaking of out here in the streets, Paul George going to the Sixers. So I think this makes a lot of sense because basically the Sixers are a bunch of losers. So Paul George, he fits right in. A guy who's never won anything. No, look, joking aside, Paul George, a very good player, a vet of the league. I mean, just a superstar caliber player. And as far as the Sixers were concerned, they really didn't have any other option, right? Like, they're a perennial playoff team at this point. They have not taken that leap. Joel Embiid either can't stay healthy or, you have Ben Simmons just, die. Obviously, he's not on the team anymore, but you understand what I mean. And so they go out and they get probably one of the best free agents actually available in Paul George. So, again, I'm never going to fault a team for trying. However, I guess it's just if we're dealing with guys not staying healthy with Joel Embiid and you bring in a Paul George who also can't really stay healthy, it's like, look, if they can manage to like win the lottery and Paul George and Joel Embiid both are healthy the whole year and like have great years for the both of them, and Tyrese Maxey, who they just extended as well, if he maintains that level that he was at last year, then yeah, of course they're going to be able to compete for the East. But again, it's a loaded East, and something about Philadelphia, man. It just doesn't smell right. Whatever they're cooking and whatever they've been cooking for like the last like 5-6 years, it just doesn't look right. I don't know what it is. It's something ain't right. To quote Stephen A. Smith, something ain't right. But 4-year deal, $212 million for Paul George. And then obviously I just mentioned Tyrese Maxey gets the max extension as well. And then a couple more things here. Klay Thompson to the Mavs. I think this is a fantastic move for everyone involved. For one, obviously Klay Thompson is sort of in the twilight of his career. He's far past his prime. And it's kind of crazy to think about him not playing for the Warriors. Like, it really thought that whole core would basically retire as Warriors, but ultimately not gonna go that way. He joins the joins the Mavs in a sign and trade. Look, you're basically replacing your third option of PJ Washington or Tim Hardaway Jr. with Klay Thompson. Sounds great to me. Like, if I'm a Mavs fan, that sounds fantastic. Like, as long as Klay Thompson's legs don't fall off, this is going to be a really good sign and trade for the Mavericks. For the Warriors, yeah, it was about time. You had to basically cut bait. You're not going to let a guy like Steph Curry leave, I would anticipate, not that he was a free agent or anything, but Steph Curry is the face of that franchise. He's the guy who's going to end up, staying with the team until he retires. Draymond maybe as well, but the rest of that core, I mean, obviously Andre Iguodala has retired at this point. And yeah, I guess Klay Thompson, for as good as he was for the Warriors, obviously it's like he was sort of the Robin to Steph Curry's Batman, if you want to use that sort of terminology. But as far as the Mavs go, look, I got to give them credit as well. They just made the finals. Obviously, they got knocked out pretty embarrassingly there, but they bring in a superstar player. They're going to be right back in it as long as everybody stays healthy. And that's a question with Kyrie. That's a question with Klay Thompson, and I guess the rest of that staff. But I don't know. Out of the West, it seems to me it's a little more open than I think a lot of people might have thought before. With the Nuggets, I don't know if they're going to be as good. Obviously, you still got Jokic, so they're going to be good. But I don't know. It just seems a little bit more open than what was otherwise thought of, where you had people were thinking the Nuggets and the Suns and the Lakers and the Warriors. And the Warriors kind of falling off. The Suns are definitely falling off. The Lakers are also kind of falling off as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're looking at the Mavs, the Timberwolves, the Thunder. It could be competitive, but I don't know how. It seems to me that it is still open. And I think if there's going to be a team that has more experience and vets and all that, it's going to be the Mavs over, say, the Wolves or the Thunder. But either way, one more thing, just wanted to make note. Jason Tatum also getting the Supermax, well-deserved. Obviously, one of the key pieces in that title run for the Celtics. Good for Jason Tatum. I don't have much else to offer as far as analysis. And Donovan Mitchell, he also got an extension, which was actually really surprising. I didn't know what the situation with that in Cleveland was a little tenuous, so I was surprised to see him stick around. But good for Cleveland, honestly. Like I say that with very little sarcasm, actually, because that's a small market team. Obviously, they really had never had any success without LeBron James, and to be able to keep a superstar level player like Donovan Mitchell, I think that's fantastic for small market teams, and I hope it works out for them. It'd be cool to see them have some success outside of LeBron James. Maybe not like immediately, because I want, I can only take so much of Ohio having success. But either way, solid move for him to stick around and sign. Obviously, there was rumors and such of, is he unhappy? Is Darius Garland unhappy? I don't know what's going to go on. Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on there, but I think it was really, really good to see Donovan Mitchell going to be sticking around with the Cavs. But that is basically all of the NBA offseason stuff for at least right now. I'm sure, by the time I wake up tomorrow, I don't know, some other star player is going to be moved, and then we'll have to talk about it next week. And I won't be mad at all. Not at all. There will be no anger. I'm not even going to be mad. I'll be. Okay. So, with NBA out of the way, we're going to move into the NHL. So, I want to start with the NHL draft. I'm not going to go over the picks because I got to be honest with all of you. Okay? You know me. I never tell lies. I'm only ever honest. I don't know who any of these people are, and I would contend that 90% of the human population, even further than that, 99% of the human population does not know who these people are. If anybody, and I mean anybody, knows who Tij Ignilla. Does anybody watch any WHL hockey? Anybody? No, you're not a big fan of the Kelowna? No? Anybody watch any Zane Pareka highlights? Out of Saginaw. Hey, Saginaw. I've been there. I'm assuming that's Saginaw, Michigan. I don't actually know. No? You guys don't watch the OHL? What about Sam Dickinson? Any relation to Hunter? No? I don't think so. He could be. I don't think so. But anyway, I'll briefly talk about the Red Wings pick because, again, I can really only comment based on the measurables and the stats that are given to me. So the Wings pick up right winger Michael Brandseg Nygaard. Great first name, by the way. Very good first name. I was really happy about that. He is 6'1", 198 pounds. I don't know if that's accurate. I thought I saw he was like 200 pounds. Let's look at Hockey DB because I have two sources here. No, it lists him as 198 pounds. So, all right. I thought maybe ESPN got it wrong initially because I remember seeing on the broadcast, I thought it was 200. But last season, he did not have like an amazing year. He had just 18 points in 41 games. I mean, whatever. The guy is 18 years old. He played for Sweden, but he's Norwegian. I believe he's the first Norwegian player taken in the first round. So, hey, maybe this is like when the Red Wings started taking, European players before everybody. back in the 90s. And then, you had your Nick Lindstroms, your Henrik Zetterbergs, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know if it's like that, but whatever. Okay. We probably won't see him for like another 4 years anyway. So I can't offer you much as far as immediate impact on the Red Wings. But as far as the Red Wings go, they did make a couple of moves that were of note. The first was the bringing in of a new goaltender, which is much appreciated. They bring in Cam Talbot. Last year played for the LA Kings. Was technically an All-Star. Had a 991 save percentage, 913 save percentage, I should say. 250 goals against. He had 3 shutouts. 27 and 20. He's vet. He's like 30. Was he 36? He's gonna be 37 in a couple of days here. Okay. I'm not jumping up and down about it. He's definitely, I think, an upgrade from the Alex Lyon and James Reimer experience. However, what I will say is I really don't know that this is going to be goalie 1 necessarily. Well, maybe he will be goalie 1, but this signals to me the fact that we didn't go out and get, any of the big name goaltenders like the Gibsons or the Olmarks of the world. It tells me that Steve Yzerman believes in these goalie prospects in, the Trey Augustines and the Sebastian Cosas of the world. Sebastian Cossa, obviously much, much closer to the NHL level. And to be honest with you, in my mind, it just seems like this is the year where Sebastian Cossa should be making the team, at least as a backup. And if his compatriot, if his, if you want to say like his guiding light, someone who can teach him a lot is Cam Talbot. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I'll take that. This is a veteran of the league. He's been playing for over a decade. Played for multiple teams at this point, all over the league. I think he'd be a really, really solid, guide for a rookie who might be struggling and needs advice. I'd be fine with it, and I'm totally okay with this as a move. I'm not jumping up and down and saying this is the greatest move ever. Steve Yzerman should get an extension, sort of thing. But I'm also not, losing my mind. The other big move, because there was a lot of other moves, but not really of much note. They bring in a defenseman, Eric Gustafsson. I don't know the pronunciation if I'm getting that right. He had 31 points in 76 games, 6 goals, 25 assists. He was a +3 player. Okay. Again, I'm not amazingly overwhelmed here, but you bolster up the defense as far as I'm concerned. Now, here's the thing. The Wings lost a lot of players. They also did bring back Patrick Kane as well. That was probably the biggest move they've made so far, is the bringing back of Patrick Kane, which I was surprised by. I'm glad to see him back. He was an excellent player offensively for us. On the defensive end, I need a little bit more than just these 2 moves. And I know that technically there were other moves. They brought in Jack Campbell, who is not the linebacker for the Lions. Different Jack Campbell. But it's just kind of funny that both Detroit Red Wings and the Lions have a Jack Campbell on their team. But I kind of want to see, a big name trade. And I don't know what that looks like. I mean, my heart of hearts, my dream that is not going to come true, but I would still love to see, is if somehow, Leon Draisaitl gets moved. I don't think it's going to happen. But if that can possibly happen, because obviously in a contract year, and we don't know what the situation is there. I can't imagine Edmonton's going to let him go, but stranger things have happened. All things considered, I don't think it's going to happen. The other guy is Jacob Trouba. I'm not sold on Jacob Trouba as this elite defender, but he's a bit of an enforcer. He's a defensive defenseman. He will get in your face. He will knock you on your teeth. He will knock your teeth out. Is what I should be saying. He would be an upgrade in the defensive unit for the Red Wings. Plus, it seems to me that a lot of these moves are sort of setting the stage for what Steve Yzerman is thinking right now, which is, I'm not going to go out and get a big name vet for long term. I'm going to bring up the guys that I drafted, that my staff developed, and they're going to be what brings this team back from the brink. I am skeptical, to say the least. I mean, I've talked about it before. A lot of these guys have not made the NHL level at this point. Not to say that they're going to be bad, but the fact that only 3 players that he's drafted have made the team up to this point is a little concerning. But it's not the end of the world. You could see your Elmer Soderblom's come back. He was on the team a couple of years ago and had some decent contributions. Injuries kind of played a part in his limited role there. Simon Edvinsson, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, he's consistently was consistently ranked as one of the top NHL prospects, certainly one of the top defenseman prospects. So if he's anything as advertised, he will be a boost in that defensive room. I mean, if he can be like Mo Seider 2.0, then your defense, like at least that top line with Mo Seider and presumably Simon Edvinsson, that could be a brick wall on defense, and just having that will certainly be a boost to the team. And then if you get a guy like a Marco Kasper, maybe Carter Mazer, get some extra goal scorers in there on the second, third, maybe even the fourth line, you might be able to see this team making the improvements. This is all kind of hinging upon the players that you have drafted and have developed paying off. I don't have a whole lot of evidence as of right now that is necessarily going to be the case. I do have Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider both being really good players. Difference between those guys, they were both the first players in their respective drafts. I don't know if Simon Edvinsson is going to be good. I can assume, I can make some reasonable extrapolations, but I don't know. I would love for him to be good, but I have no reason to believe. And don't give me, you watched AHL Grand Rapids Griffins game. I'm going to be honest. I don't know that there is a legal way to watch those games. I'm not convinced. I'm pretty sure basically the only way you watch those games is if it has Taiwanese subtitles in the middle of the game. Just random Asian text. You don't understand what it's saying, but the guy hosting the stream is, somewhere in Southeast Asia. The guy is or something. I don't know. But basically, all of this is to say the Red Wings are kind of immune to, blockbuster moves. But that doesn't mean that nothing will happen. I do think that over the span of the offseason, if this is the extent, I'm going to go in very wary, and I'm not sure I could put that team in the playoffs. However, the thing I always go back to, as I'm certainly not a Steve Yzerman, fanboy, and I will take him to task if I believe he needs to be taken to task. But every year they have gotten better. It's been incremental, and it's been not large amounts, but every year, statistically speaking, they have gotten better. Do I think that could plateau? It could. It really all depends on how good these young guys are and how quickly they, make an impact. It could be like, we could look at the next big thing in Lucas Raymond, and he could have like a 90-point season. He could pull like a Jack Hughes or any of these, name these big name wingers and forwards, that have kind of come up recently. Or he could just kind of be okay, 60, 70 points ish. Like, I mean, not that that's bad, but like, what I mean? Not a superstar face of the franchise kind of guy. But hey, maybe if you just get a lot more production top to bottom, you don't have any one guy that's, blowing you away, but you have a lot of guys that are in the 50 plus points. You get a lot of guys in the 20 plus goals, right? We had a similar situation last year, but obviously that team fell apart and didn't make the playoffs. So it's going to be a big year for Derek Lalonde. It's going to be a big year for Steve Yzerman as far as I'm concerned. And obviously the moves aren't done, but either way, look, as far as I'm concerned, playoffs or bust, or I'm done. Like, I'm just done with the whole administration. So good stuff, I guess. I don't know. Kamala, any comment?
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets, she says. I gotta be honest. I don't get into politics very much. I didn't know that there was any possibility that there was someone whiter than me in the world. And it was even stranger to find out that the person who was whiter than me is not in fact white. I mean, this just speaks for itself. I mean,
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
she's out here in these streets. I gotta be honest. I don't think she was out here in these streets. I don't think. Leave a comment if you think Kamala Harris was
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
out here in these streets. Leave a comment if you think so. I doubt it. But briefly here, because there was a lot of news in the NHL, but I understand it's not as impactful. And I'm not a hockey expert. Not that I'm a basketball expert by any means. But I wanted to briefly talk about a couple of these moves. So Steven Stamkos, he was a big name that I would have loved to see the Red Wings potentially go out and sign. Veteran player, one of the all-time great players for the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously a multiple-time champion with them. He signs a contract with the Predators, a long-term deal as well. You know, a 4-year, $32 million contract. I don't know if this is going to be his last contract because he's up there in age. This will, I believe, take him to his age 38, so more than likely his last contract in the NHL. But hey, the Panthers, they made a lot. They got Marchand again. Marchand. I don't know if that's how you say it, but they went out. The Predators really they went out, and they are trying to make a run here. Obviously, they made the playoffs last year, so it's not like they're completely out of it. And the West is pretty open. I think. I think it's not like it's not as tough of a conference as the Eastern Conference, at least compared to what we have based on last year. But good for the Predators. Good for Steven Stamkos. I'd be looking forward to seeing how he does out in Nashville for sure. The Lightning, however, are not going to let their perennial playoff contention go down without a fight. They go out and they trade and sign Jake Getzel. Jake Getzel, really solid ad for them. He was acquired by the Hurricanes at the trade deadline and then just basically didn't play because he got hurt. So a bit of a letdown for the Hurricanes there with Jake Getzel, but the Lightning trying to stay alive. I guess they figured Jake Getzel is their replacement for losing Steven Stamkos. Okay. Fine. Fair enough. It says here on the Bleacher Report article, finished the regular season with 8 goals and 17 assists in 17 games, and then 4 goals and 5 assists in 11 playoff games. So he had 9 points in 11 playoff games. He had 25 points in 17 games down the stretch there for the Hurricanes. So still a very capable player, and they signed him to an extension. So good for the Lightning. They're gonna see if they can sort of revitalize something there. Maybe make sort of a last ditch effort to get another cup in there for Tampa Bay. And hey, hockey is cooking in the state of Florida. They're doing quite well. They've got 3 titles in the state of Florida in just this decade alone. So good for them. Good for them. And then finally, speaking of Florida, wanted to talk about Sam Reinhart. He signs an 8-year, $69 million contract. He's going to stick around. Rhino, obviously a vet for the Panthers. He is not their best player, but he's still a really good player. And, he's going to stick around. And maybe the Panthers are a dynasty in the making. It's very hard to be a dynasty in the NHL, especially nowadays. But Sam Reinhart sticking around with his OGs in Florida. Obviously, Stanley Cup champion with them this past season. So good for Sammy Rhines. And yeah, I mean, he'll continue to be he'll be a Florida Panther legend regardless of what this contract ends up looking like. You win your first cup as a franchise. It doesn't matter anything that happens after that for the player, for the teams on that players on that team. They will ultimately be looked at as legends. Either way, just seems to be basic. Like I don't think anybody is going to is going to have a grudge against Sam Reinhart if he ends up sucking these last 8 years. But either way. Yeah. So that is basically it. So I was going to talk about Tiger stuff, but then I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to talk about the Tigers right now. We're not going to do it. So far, no score between them and the Twins. But they lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels, and I said, you know what? I'm going to choose peace. I'm not going to choose violence. We're going to choose peace. We're not going to talk about the Tigers. We are opting out of the Tigers, at least until the trade deadline, which could come. Will come in just a few weeks here. And the All-Star game is obviously coming in a few weeks. Or not a few weeks, a week from now. It's next, or not a week from now. The 16th is the All-Star game. Anyways, so that pretty much wraps it up. So I'm actually surprised we got this show done in just a little over an hour. We had a lot to go over. You know what? I'll take it. It was a good show. We went over a lot. So if you enjoyed, please hit the like and hit that subscribe button. We are live every single Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk everything. We talk all things NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, except this week because I was opting out. You understand. But if you enjoyed, again, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Clips will be uploaded tomorrow in case you missed the show and you just want to watch some of the highlights. But with that, hope you all have a fantastic night, and I will see you again next week for another show. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.